The wet cement is drying up for the fantasy football playoffs. Whether you're trying to make the playoffs, whether you're fighting for a number one seed, or you're already eliminated, it's that time. And these are the waiver wire pickups to make right before the fantasy playoffs start. What's going on, Couch fam? Welcome to my Week 13 Fantasy Football Waiver Pickups video. We're going to have waiver ads at every single position. They are ranked. Let's get right into it. But before we do, there are two teams on bye this week, the Cardinals and the Panthers. And the week after that, week 14, 6 teams on bye. It's going to be another bye-mageddon. And week 14 is the last week of NFL byes. After that, no more bye weeks. That's why we start the fantasy football playoffs week 15. Our playoffs are set week 15, 16, and 17. 17 being the championship game, the fantasy Super Bowl. All right, guys, let's go into quarterbacks. Now, a lot of you guys are smart, especially those watching this video and are making a playoff push or are in playoffs. And so there's not going to be a lot of waiver pickups to help your team. Maybe some wide receivers, maybe some running backs, definitely defenses and kickers to stream. And we'll have some very desperate tight end ads. And as far as QBs, there's going to be no surprise here. Likely nothing that will help you win your league, nothing that you don't already know. But I'll go through them really quick. Deshaun Watson is coming back, is back. Week 13, facing his old team, the Houston Texans. A must-add in every single format. He's already been stashed more than likely 4 weeks ago in your league. Mike White is the real deal. He is a wild card. He is risky, sure. But with the talent on this team, he should be good. And I do have a good amount of trust in him. This team is absolutely stacked. And if Breece Hall was healthy, it will be even more stacked. So I do like Mike White. After that, I mean, there's really no names that's going to help you out. I'll just read them down the ranked list really quick. Derek Carr is going against the Chargers. Amazing matchup there. Jared Goff. This should be a high-scoring game, actually. Lions, Jaguars, somewhat sneaky high-scoring game. Two teams that are traditionally known for, like, negative connotations. Like, oh, these two teams suck. But when you look at it, both these teams could put up a lot of points. And also playing in a dome, so they'll be safe from any extreme weather. Jimmy Garoppolo is going against the Dolphins, maybe a little less ideal weather situation there. Aaron Rodgers is expected to start. He does have a painful injury, but I think he'll be okay, and he will start going against the Bears. Great matchup. The Bears are depleted and a bad team as of now. Look, the future's bright with them. I'm not saying anything bad about how the franchise is looking, but as of right now, today, they're a great matchup. Could be windy, though. That game is in Chicago. And then we got Kenny Pickett, Mac Jones. Not a great matchup this week against the Bills, but I put the matchups right after that. Look at that. Cardinals and then Raiders. So two good matchups in Superflex. I may be forced to start him. It's either him or Aaron Rodgers. I haven't decided yet. Probably rolling with Rodgers this week. Maybe I'll switch it to Mac Jones week 14 and 15. Sam Darnold is named the starter for week 14. Don't know who the starter will be beyond that. But as of right now, week 14, it's going to be the Darnold show in Carolina. Kyle Allen, pretty much same thing. He's going to start this week. After that, we don't know who the starter will be for the Texans. And number 11, I got Trevor Siemian. He should start if Justin Fields is hurt. And Bryce Perkins will probably start for the Rams at quarterback. I don't know. Who cares? For fantasy. Sorry, Rams fans. I don't know if that was offensive. Don't get triggered. Don't unsubscribe from me, please. I can't afford that. I can't afford for you guys to leave. Number one pickup. Speaking of the Rams, we got Kyren Williams. Now, there's not a lot of sexy names here, but he is a must-add in PPR leagues, and I was a little bit surprised, even though I was a guy who hates Cam Akers all the way, through and throughout, from week 0 to now. I was a hater. I was still surprised that Kyren Williams got more carries. And let me tell you something, Cam Akers is getting virtually no targets. So Kyren Williams is the guy to add in all formats, and in PPR, he's even better. And this brings me to the sleeper ad of the week. We're going to go with Tyrion Davis-Price. TDP, I don't have tremendous confidence in him, but let's go over what we do know and why I think he is a sleeper. Number one, Eli Mitchell is done for the year, at least done for us in fantasy. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. So no Eli Mitchell, no Jeff Wilson. All those other guys were cut and traded. Who's that rookie bust? I can't even remember his name, but JaMychal Hasty on the Jags. Who's the dude who joined the Eagles? My God, he was, oh man, I can't even think of his name, and I'm a Niner fan. He's such old, laud history. But anyway, we have Jordan Mason and Tyrion Davis-Price fighting for this number 2 RB job. Some people might go after Mason, and look, I'm not 100% on the answer, but I think it's going to be TDP. Now, Christian McCaffrey does have an injury. He is day to day, as they say. I do expect him to play. Keep in mind that even if he does not practice this week, he still could play. That's a very realistic scenario where you see no practices and then he still plays. So I do think CMC is going to play, and I do believe TDP, who's been a healthy scratch ever since this blockbuster Christian McCaffrey trade, I think he's going to be, well, he's almost certainly going to be active. I think he's going to be the number 2 running back. And then Mason, he's more of a special teams guy. I think he'll be the RB3. Now, keep in mind, maybe Shanahan doesn't quite know either. Maybe he has the same idea, and then he sees something on game day and then goes to the hot hand. This could be a messy situation. Nonetheless, some noobs might look at this, go get Mason without knowing the situation, or some people still have a question mark and have no clue which one to get. Well, I'm telling you, this guy's my sleeper, and if I had to pick between Mason or TDP, I'm going with TDP. And of course, number 3, I do have Jordan Mason because things could change, and they always do for Niners running backs. We always get burned with Niners running backs, but also what does that mean? That also means that there's other guys on the Niners backfield that do well. So there's always good running backs on the Niners fantasy-wise. It's just that we often don't pick them with the first choice. We're often wrong, and it's a second or third or fourth choice that works out. Cam Akers, this is disgusting. This is a smelly vomit. He kind of needs to be rostered in every league, and he kind of has a good matchup, but you really don't want to start him, and it's gross. Nobody wants to actually roster this guy. Nobody actually is starting him. It's just he's just there, and the rest of this list is just like this too. There's really not much upside here. I went over all my handcuffs and all the sleeper ads in previous videos, and thankfully a lot of them worked out. Let's run through the rest of this list. Now, Travis Etienne was out the rest of the game. He got hurt, but he was cleared to come back in. He was just out for precautionary reasons, so I do expect Etienne to be back, and JaMychal Hasty to be nothing more than a deep league handcuff. Nonetheless, if Etienne can't go for some reason, Hasty would get a huge boost. Obviously, he did well when Etienne was out. We have Zonovan Knight, who seemed to get a lot of carries. James Robinson, healthy scratch, minor injury to Michael Carter, and it was kind of the Zonovan Knight show. Ty Johnson was heavily involved, but he's never really a workhorse type, never getting bulk of the carries. So a messy situation here for the Jets. Maybe they do activate James Robinson. I don't think they will. Maybe Michael Carter is healthy and will play. We'll see. Messy situation. Even more messy situation for the Steelers. Steelers running backs don't do well this year. It's not been a great year for a Steelers running back. And now it's even messier. Najee Harris, good chance he's out. But there's a good chance Jaylen Warren is back, who solidified the RB2 spot. And then we have a mixture of Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. I'm more of a McFarland fan. I love him in the pass game. I love the big playability. But then Benny Snell looked pretty good. It's not like there was a big difference between them. So huge, kind of like a 4 running back mess here. One that I probably wouldn't get involved in. Might waste the roster space. And you know what? You're going to guess, and you're going to likely guess wrong. So I don't know if you're wasting FAB and wasting a roster space just to lose this week. And number 9, we have Kenny Gainwell, the Eagles RB, backup running back. Number 10, Mike Boone, who should be coming back soon. Maybe he doesn't come back in time for your team. Number 11, we have Chuba Hubbard. He got a lot more work this past week, and so he's definitely worth considering as an ad. Okay, let's move on to wide receivers. I'm going to just break down the tiers for you guys. You don't need big explanations for all of these. So tier 1 is going to be the top 5 names. So these are pretty much must-adds. They should be rostered in 12-team leagues and probably even in a 10-team league. So that's going to be number 1, Treylon Burks, number 2, Zay Jones, number 3, DPJ, number 4, Gallup, and number 5, Mac Hollins. Now, tier 2 is going to be Darius Slayton, Nico Collins, and Van Jefferson, with Chase Claypool kind of being a risky sleeper upside guy. So I'll include him as well. So let's go with top 9 being tier 2. Darius Slayton is the number 1 receiver for the Giants, but I just don't trust Giants wide receivers. And as soon as somebody tries to convince me that one of them is good and is the guy, it always changes. Last year it was Galladay, and now it was somebody, I don't even know who, but then it may be Kadarius. Then it switched to definitely being Sterling Shepard. Then he got hurt, and another guy got hurt, and I mean, it just keeps, it was Richie James one week. Like, it just keeps changing. Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius. Like, it's an ever-evolving thing. This isn't a prolific passing team. So even though Slayton is a great ad, I don't know about this Giants team. Not the best matchup this week, by the way. Number 7, we got Nico Collins. He's getting a lot more targets. Could be kind of a target monster with this new quarterback, Kyle Allen. Van Jefferson may not seem this way, but we're looking at an alpha wide receiver, at least for the Rams. Allen Robinson's done for the year. Cooper Kupp's done for the year pretty much. Van Jefferson is the man. He's going to get a lot of target share, and I think Higbee will too. So just keep tabs on Higbee. If anybody drops him and gets emotional, must add. I think he'll get a lot of targets in garbage time. Van Jefferson's the number 1 wide receiver, though, for the Rams. Keep in mind Stafford, I think, may have a serious injury, though. I wouldn't be surprised if he shut down for the rest of the year. Number 9, Chase Claypool. Number 10, Jameson Williams. Don't expect anything from him when and if he returns. He'll probably return like week 14, and then he'll be ramped up just to get some good playing time, some snaps. So don't expect much from him at all this year. He's more of a bonus. Maybe he's like good to go for the fantasy Super Bowl or something. That would be crazy if you actually start him. Number 11, Jarvis Landry. Number 12, Elijah Moore. I don't trust him quite yet. I love the talent. Number 13, Quez Watkins. Looks like a real wide receiver for fantasy. That's crazy. Julio Jones. And then number 15, we got Richie James Jr. At tight end, kind of like the top 5. Let's just say top 6. I want a top 6 tight end, and look, all these guys kind of suck. I'm not going to lie. I don't trust any of them, but almost all of us, like 90% of us, are desperate for a fantasy tight end. I think I started Logan Thomas in a deep league last week. Not ideal. Look, I had Dallas Goedert. It was going well, but everything unraveled. Lots of injuries, as you guys know. So number 1, I have Evan Ingram. Only 1 target, only 1 reception last week. I think he got only, 4 yards. I think that's going to be more of the anomaly. We can't predict tight ends week to week. It's a tough job. It's almost impossible. But I do think Evan Ingram will bounce back the rest of the year, and he is going to be number 1 on this list. A close second is going to be Foster Moreau, starting in place of Waller. Tyler Conklin could be back. Number 4, Jordan Akins, a big sleeper here, but he did get a season high of 5 targets. It was a messy game for the Texans. It was a messy game for Jordan Akins, but I do like the usage. I really don't trust him. I should probably just rank him more like number 6, to be honest. Very low floor, because this is the Texans have been a team that switches tight ends too. Like we're talking about the Giants wide receivers, it's like that with the Houston Texans tight ends. For the last like 3 years, we haven't seen a real tight end that we can just pick up and start. Be like, oh, this is the number 1 tight end in fantasy on the Texans. Like we never knew who that guy was. Like maybe it's been more than 3 years. I think the last time we really saw that was his name Owen Daniels. He had like a big haircut, like big hair. I think it was Owen. No, I don't even know his name. But like, yeah, it's been so long we've really seen that from the Houston Texans. At number 5, I got Greg Dulcich. Huge fan, but Russell Wilson is absolute garbage. This team is just completely unraveled. Number 6, Austin Hooper. Look at these targets the last 3 weeks. So just 3 games ago, we got 7 targets, then 4 targets, and then 4 targets. Ideally, we want 5, but we can work with 4. 4 is usually like the bare minimum. 5 is ideal, and 6 is great for a tight end. As far as targets go, targets help us predict future fantasy output. And then in deeper leagues at number 7, we got Hunter Henry, then Robert Tonyan, Jawan Johnson, Noah Fant, Cameron Brate. Daniel Bellinger may be coming back soon. He is hurt. Trey McBride, number 1 tight end on the Cardinals, now that Zach Ertz is hurt, but Cardinals are on bye. Jelani Woods, a little bit of a messy game, but got a ton of targets, and I did like what I saw. But only if Kyle Granson is out. So I like Jelani Woods this past game, week 12, but keep in mind Granson was out. And I have a kind of a special creative ad if you're in a deep league, maybe even deeper than 16 teams. So if you're in a super deep league and you want to handcuff Schultz or just make a kind of a cool move, I really think it's going to be Jake Ferguson. If anything were to happen to Schultz, I think Jake Ferguson could possibly explode. This Cowboys team is evolving and changing and looking pretty good. It's a good team. And Jake Ferguson has some standalone value, so I like that as well. He'll still get 2 or 3 targets per game, so I do like him as an ad in super deep leagues. There was some tight ends probably better than Jake Ferguson, but like I don't want to just list like 20 tight ends that won't help you. I think Jake Ferguson is a cool creative ad in deep leagues that can actually help you. Functional fantasy advice, as I call it. For defenses, you want to try to get one of these top 6, top 5 defenses if you can. Great streaming options for week 13. Number 1, we got the Seahawks going against the Rams. The Rams are barely even an NFL team right now. Completely unraveled, completely fell apart, and decimated with injuries. Browns D going against the Texans. The Texans are not really, what's the PC term? Tanking, playing for the future, garbage, whatever. They're done for this year. Bucks are going against the Saints. Should be a low-scoring game. Packers D going against the Bears. Love the Packers D if Justin Fields is out. We already know that Darnell Mooney is out. That's why Claypool was on that wide receiver list, by the way. Commanders going against the Giants. This will be a low-scoring game, and Commanders are actually favored to win. Steelers D, since TJ Watt is back. I don't know if he's even playing on every snap, but even just his presence means just Steelers D is just way better. They're healthier, and I trust them almost no matter what the matchup is. They'll get a sack, they'll get a turnover, they'll do something. They'll scare the opposing quarterback. They'll piss off the opposing head coach. Something happens. Steelers D frustrates other teams. And in deeper leagues, we have the Vikings D, Falcons D, Giants D, or Saints D going against Tom Brady. Kickers, I want you guys to try to get one of these top 5 kickers, ideally top 3. Top 3 is like I'm really confident in. I love the top 3 on this list. If you don't have Tyler Bass, if you don't have Justin Tucker, Evan McPherson, Harrison Butker, or Raiders kicker Daniel Carlson, those are like the Fab Five. Those are the elite 5 kickers. If you don't have one of those 5, you're probably going to want to go ahead and add one of my top 3 kickers. A good chance they're available, but it really varies from league to league. One league, all 3 of these guys might be available. Another league, none. So number 1, we got Cameron Dicker the kicker. Chargers going against the Raiders. Lots of field goal opportunities for both those teams there. Jason Myers is elite. Great matchup against the Rams. I love him. I love this matchup. Brett Maher going against the Colts. Huge bounce back game for Brett Maher incoming. And keep in mind, a lot of these, or actually all 3 of these, are in a dome, right? Rams, they're in a dome. Raiders in Vegas, that's a new state-of-the-art stadium. That's a dome or retractable roof, whatever it is. Shouldn't be any concern with wind. Brett Maher, yep, that should be a dome as well, retractable roof. So I like those, no crazy weather conditions there. If you can't get any of those guys, go get the Jaguars kicker or Lions kicker in that high scoring game. That will be in a dome as well. And then after that, there are some great kickers here, but I just don't know how these games are going to turn out and what's going to unravel here. So it's pretty tough. I did my best to rank them, but just keep in mind, it's basically kind of random here. We got Ryan Suckup at 6, then Robbie Gould, Younghoe Koo. Don't love the matchup necessarily, but I do love Younghoe Koo's talent. Greg Zuerlein, Graham Gano, and then we got Nick Folk. Actually, this one's pretty important. Nick Folk should be okay this game. He'll have a floor of about 4 fantasy points against the Bills. He could go off for sure. I don't trust him this week that much in terms of fantasy points. Very reliable kicker in real life. After that, though, I absolutely love him. So I'm making this point as in, like, if you have Nick Folk, you may not want to drop him. Or if you see someone drop him, you may want to pick him up next week or this week. Just keep that in mind, because week 14 against the Cardinals, love it. Week 15 against the Raiders, I love it. And these could be make it or break it weeks for you guys. So I do want to make that clear that Nick Folk will be an elite kicker week 14 and 15. And then we have Cade York, excellent matchup, but he's wild. He's all over the place. He looks extremely accurate. Then he looks like the worst kicker some games. Mason Crosby going against the Bears, and we got Joey Sly going against the Giants. All of a sudden now with the quarterback change in Washington, Terry McLaurin is back, and Joey Sly is a good kicker. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you guys subscribe. We have a second YouTube channel too. Subscribe to both, please. This one and Fantasy Couch Podcast. Good luck this week, everybody. I read every single comment, so drop a comment with your questions, and I'll get to them. Good luck, and I'll see you guys on the next one.